hopefully. Hop onto the channel, have a quick look around. Nothing's popped up yet. Hop onto the main account. There it is there. Streams up, chat's up, and party audio is working as it should. So, hello everyone and welcome to round 11 of the Pacific Elite Series here on Race Spec Esports. I'm Lane Everingham, your main commentator for this event, and tonight we'll be racing at Circuit Paul Ricard for the French Grand Prix. This 5.84 kilometre 15-turn circuit was created in 1969 and has hosted Formula One Grand Prix intermittently since 1971. The most unique feature of this iconic French circuit is the insane amount of runoff area around every corner. The feature makes it almost impossible for a driver to crash into a barrier after having an accident. But let me assure you from my experiences as a commentator and as a driver, it's definitely not completely impossible. Around the circuit there are two DRS zones. One leads down the main straight into turn 1 and the other leads down the Mistral straight into the turn 8-9 chicane. These will prove to be the primary overtaking areas of the circuit, though drivers can try and pass into the right-handers of turn 3 and turn 11. This race week may also prove to be quite the special event, as this may be the last time we see Circuit Paul Ricard in an F1 video game, as it's been dropped from the real-life Formula One schedule. It will not appear, well, it shouldn't appear in F1 23. We'll see what Codemasters do in terms of DLC. Now, before we focus on qualifying, there is a bit of news to go through first from last week's race at Silverstone. Only a single incident report involving Smithy, our championship leader, and F1 Ferrari Pro. We saw it on stream. It happened at the Vale chicane where the two collided. The steward's verdict from that is no further action, so no time penalties whatsoever were dished out from the stewards. As a result, the final finishing positions remain completely unchanged. In the Drivers' Championship, Smithy is leading the way on 265 points, followed by F1 Ferrari Pro on 235, so 30 points separating the top two in the Drivers' Championship. ACW, 17 points behind his teammate, is on 218, followed by Plebs on 164, then GeForce Pato on 150 rounds out the top 5. Bags Liddell is P6 on 115, followed by Spicy on 98, then Roscoe Arm on 89. Pump 46 is 9th on 77. Rounding out the top 10 is Marvelant in the Haas on 49 points. In the Teams Championship, Ferrari are leading the way. Not much of a surprise when you look at the Drivers' Championship. They're on 453 points. They're a whopping 73 points ahead of Aston Martin on 380. Next is Alpine on 314, then it's a huge jump down to Alfa Romeo on 122 points. The Mercedes are next on 104, followed by Williams on 86, McLaren on 79, Haas on 71, Red Bull Racing on 40, and AlphaTauri at the bottom of the table on 35 points. But that's pretty much it in terms of news. I can now introduce my co-commentator, who is, as always, KD1997. KD, this might be the last time we see this circuit during this week in Race Spec. What are your general thoughts about this iconic French racetrack?
Well, I mean, yes, it's going to be pretty sad, I guess, that we're not going to probably see this circuit again for a while, like you mentioned. But as far as the driving perspective, or commentary perspective, whatever you prefer, I would say the track is not really the most exciting racetrack in the world, but well, because in real life I find it quite boring, but in the virtual world, I have seen some decent races in the past, so hopefully we'll see that here tonight, for the last time here at Circuit Paul Ricard for sure.
I mean, I somewhat agree. I have seen my fair share of rather dull, boring races at Circuit Paul Ricard. But I won't forget, during the early stages of my commentary career, all the way back in 2019, Circuit Paul Ricard was actually the place where I saw my first truly astonishing race as a commentator. It was a Formula 2 race for a league that's no longer with us. And it was unbelievably good. So much action, so much drama in both the feature and in the sprint race. It was so much fun to commentate. So yeah, I always have that little soft spot for Circuit Paul Ricard in that regard. But I'm no fool. I understand that this racetrack can be rather dull. You look at it in real life, it hasn't really produced many exciting races for us to watch. So it's understandable that it's disappearing. Maybe the French Grand Prix can come back another time, maybe at a different racetrack, or maybe they return back here to Paul Ricard. I guess we'll just have to wait and see. As Ferrari Pro crosses the line, he does a 30.5. Man, the top four are close, separated by a tenth and a half.
Yeah, really, really close. And that's really good banker laps as well, to be in the mid to close to low 130s. That's definitely very good lap times indeed.
We'll see what other drivers are capable of as Pump comes up towards the line, does a 31.4, fifth quickest overall. Bags Liddell on a run, making his way out of turn 2. Low on battery, he's not using any in fact, so he's not on a proper flying lap. Spicy here is about to begin one. We're going to ride on board with the Mercedes driver, give you a tour of this 5.89 kilometre 15 turn racetrack. Around the final corner in 4th gear, planting the accelerator, DRS open, and make his way up towards the start finish line to begin the flying lap. Now towards turn 1, probably the second best overtaking spot on the circuit. Down to 5th gear through 1, through turn 2, be careful of that inside curb. Up to 6th gear, 7th gear. Will he put it into 8? He will. Into turn 3, down to 5th gear, missing the apex by a mile there. Spicy Whiz. Around turn 5, up to 4th gear, through turn 6, up towards turn 7, onto the Mistral straight. He'll open DRS and head up towards the best overtaking spot on the circuit, the chicane of turns 8 and 9. Hard on the brakes, down to 4th gear, clipping the apex, make his way around the right-hander of turn 9, then back onto the Mistral straight, heading up towards turn 10. In these dry conditions, it's an insignificant curve. As you can tell here, riding on board with Spicy, flat out the whole way round. We head into turn 11 though, we bring it down to 5th gear, short shift, not quite. Using all of 5th gear all the way round turn 11, into turn 12, this reducing radius left-handed, that was terrible, Spicy. Gee whiz. That was an awful line through 12, through turn 13, and he's going to bail on the lap. Well, we'll get a look at pit entry, because this has caught a few drivers out. The line comes up at you pretty quick. You need to make sure you slow the car down accordingly. You've got to remember as well, 60 km/h speed limit here at Paul Ricard. It's not the 80 that you see for the most part on several other circuits in the world of Formula 1.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a crawl in that pit line too, especially with you going that around there at 60 Ks. But yeah, and the things too, of course, in 2018, that pit lane entry used to not be where it is right now. It used to be at the main straightaway, but obviously they moved. But obviously they moved it because of safety reasons, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, because the entry wasn't too far away from the exit of the final corner, so you had drivers slowing down after the apex so they can go into the pits, and that was a bit of a danger for anyone who was behind them not entering, because suddenly they had a slower car in front of them sort of blocking the racetrack. So they elected to move pit entry into a much more safer spot at the outside of turn 14. But that introduced the problem where it sort of cut out the final corner, so they had to reduce the speed limit down to 60 km/h, so then drivers don't gain advantage by going into the pit lane entry.
Well, of course.
Yeah, I actually remember that back in F1 2019 with that old pit entry.
Was that 2019?
I believe so. I think I
I remember
remember it.
2018. I know 2018 it did. I don't remember 2019 it did.
I'm pretty certain it had it on 19. I could remember it
Hmm.
because I never played F1 2018, and I remember doing it. They probably evolved it out because I think for that year it did have the cut through the final corner. I remember talking to a few friends about it on
Mm.
2019 where, oh, thank goodness they redesigned the pit lane entry. It made it a lot more sensible. But I think that was the year when they changed it, was 2019, and Codemasters incorporated the design change
Yeah,
accordingly.
that makes sense. Yeah, I get that because yeah, takes them another year to like make a change if there has to be a like to its proper way. Like we
Mm,
saw with Jeddah for example, like with 2021, they didn't have like the DRS zone or one of the DRS zones in the proper area.
mm,
Remember they had that the exit of turn 12 that led up to the banker of turn 13
yeah.
instead of at 19 to 22. Yeah, and now they got that correct. So that's probably a Codemasters thing. I'm guessing. I don't know.
It usually is. It takes a while to develop these sort of things in, and not to mention, you don't just redesign the racetrack, you also have to code the AI accordingly,
Hmm.
because obviously all of these racetracks are usable in single player. So, Codemasters have got a fair amount of work to do when they make a circuit change, as Plebs crosses the line, goes fifth quickest with a 30.8. He is a little under. Let's do that better. A little over 4/10 of a second behind ACW. Before Zach on the lap, so is Bags Liddell making his way around turn 11. Personally, one of my favourite corners in all of Formula One is Smithy jumps to the top with a 29.9. He's obliterated ACW's time by 4/10 of a second. But no, I really do enjoy turn 11. I find it really enjoyable. You send it in, the car can grip up quite nicely through there. You can get a really tidy run. It's unfortunate though that the following corner is one of my least favourites with turn 12. Such a tricky damn corner to get right. You have to make sure you take a late apex, because if you don't, yeah, you're kind of screwed. As Bags Liddell goes third quickest, just behind ACW. And I mean just only 32 thousandths of a second separating ACW and Bags. Yellow's out. That is Pump having a moment. That's at turn 12, rather coincidentally. In fact, this circuit has two of my least favourite corners in all of Formula 1. It has turn 12 and the final corner, turn 15. I think it's probably the worst corner that ends a lap on the Formula 1 calendar. It's so slow, it's so tedious, you have to wait to get on the accelerator, it's just not fun. It's a very disjointed way to end a flying lap, especially a lap like this where there's a lot of fast corners you have to go through. To end with such a tight, insignificant hairpin, yeah, it's a bit
Well, nothing
bit
could be
meh.
probably Mexico. Nothing could probably be Mexico's turn 13 when you enter the stadium.
Yeah, no, that hairpin is shocking. In fact,
I personally agree.
most of that racetrack is shocking in my opinion. But I think, as a general opinion, yeah, turn 13 at Mexico, the hairpin inside the stadium is just awful. It really serves nothing in the context of racing. Turn 15 here at Paul Ricard is similar. I mean, you can try and make moves, but why bother? You get DRS down the main straight anyway. Unless it's the last lap and you're sending it, there is no reason to make an overtake at that particular corner. And it more often than not results in contact anyway. So you're better off backing off and just trying to line up for a run at turn 1. And that's a bit dicey as well. Turn 1, it's one of the fastest turn 1s on the calendar. And there's some tricky elevation change in between it and turn 2. So it's really easy to get it wrong through there, especially on the opening lap, KD. I'm sure you've experienced it, both as a driver and as a commentator. The opening lap here at Paul Ricard, it's a dicey opening lap, especially through 1 and 2.
Yeah, I mean, like, track position would probably be key as well. I mean, we probably would say that in a lot of tracks, but, like, for this, why I say it, because, yeah, like you mentioned, turns 1 and 2, if you're starting in the mid-pack, yeah, good luck, because you're going to be stuck in a bunch of carnage, I reckon, if you are not careful. Because you'll have people out breaking themselves, you have people, like, not try to go for a dive bomb, try to race you into the first corner, and yeah, it just creates a bit of a mess. Now, of course, like you mentioned, like it does seem to be an area that, of course, can ruin your lap. It's either you can cut too much of the first bits of turn 1, or you clip a little bit of that inside apex at turn 2, which is a dip, and basically you'll spin. It's so weird. It is just a weird corners. Yeah, really.
I suppose the only thing that's been consistent about turn 2 is that it's always been a tripping hazard. Ever since I started league racing back in 2019, turn 2 was always awful. As soon as you touch that inside curb, you spin. So that sort of mindset has been carried for some time. But it is frustrating. It is weird that the car behaves in such a fashion, especially at high speeds. Oh, as Davis has a spinny, he has an oopsie into the barrier. Gee whiz. But turn 2 and turn 1, both are high-speed corners, so the downforce should be helping you through that section. But as soon as you touch the curb, the downforce disappears, and you just
Davis takes off braking boards there. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you there.
I think he took out the 150. I did see that fly.
Yeah, he did. He's like on the right. Yeah, on the right-hand side, going to the Bossier.
Well, it should be alright. The only board you need for turn 11 is the 50.
Yeah.
Because, yeah, you can break real deep into turn 11. Coming towards the end of qualifying. This has been a rather quick qualifying, KD. We've been talking so much, we're at 2 minutes to go.
Probably helps when it's a lower field and that's just us just rambling about.
I guess so. We're at the death of qualifying, so these are our final flying lap attempts. The first driver to try such an attempt is ACW, currently P2 with a 30.3. Heads into turn 3, down to 4th gear, keeps it in 4th around turn 4, now into the tight right of turn 5. To the first sector, he's up by 1/10 of a second. He's apparently purple to the first sector, according to the minimap anyway. Out of turn 7, down the Mistral straight now. DRS wide open. What kind of peak speed will we see from the Ferrari? 330, 335, 335 kilometers an hour through turn 8 and around turn 9. Back onto the Mistral straight. He'll head up towards the middle sector split. The clock says he's still up and he hasn't found a great deal of time. Not that you'd really imagine that he'd find any sort of time in the middle sector. There's not much to do through the middle sector. Smithy, meanwhile, our current pole sitter, is dead even to the middle sector. We'll see if he can find some time here in the final sector that ACW is going through right now. Out of turn 12 and around turn 13, up towards turn 14, the left-hander, the penultimate corner, up towards turn 15, the final corner. He'll keep it in 4th gear, clip the apex pretty spot on, a tidy exit too. He'll open DRS and head up towards the line. It's a 1 minute, 30.347. He actually lost time in the final sector. Smithy, meanwhile, will head down the main straightaway for the final time in qualifying to complete this flying lap. He does not improve. He misses out by 1/10 of a second. Bags Liddell is up by 1/10.5 to the first sector. Pato is up by 1/10.5 to the middle sector. He's making his way around turn 12. Now around turn 13. He's in the pit lane. Yeah, he has.
Yeah,
so
he validated his lap.
Mm.
Yeah, 1 lap he only did, just 1.
Yeah, not ideal for the man who is Smithy's main rival in the Drivers' Championship. Only 30 points separating the top 2 in the Drivers. Pato crosses the line and jumps up to second. 30.254 is his lap. Bags Liddell, meanwhile, is up by 2/10 of a second. He's looking at a very low 30 right now as he heads around the penultimate corner, turn 14. 1 corner remains, turn 15, down to 4th gear. He might get a slight tow here. from the Haas in front. Maybe a little itty bit of a slipstream. Bags will set a 30 flat. He goes up to P2. It's an Aston Martin 1-2 right now. ACW's qualifying session is over. Spicy goes back into pit lane. It is an Aston Martin 1-2 for the French Grand Prix.
Yeah, I didn't expect that from Bags, but that's a good lap set by him.
Absolutely.
Sure.
There we are. It's Smithy who will start from pole position for this Grand Prix. Bags Liddell will start alongside him on the front row. It's an Aston Martin 1-2. GeForce Pato will start P3, followed by ACW in 4th, who has just reported in. Non-stop understeer during this qualifying session. Well, hopefully you can find a cure for that, ACW. Spicy in P5, followed by F1 Ferrari Pro in P6, Pleb 7th and Pump 8th. G4 Zach in 9th, Marvel in 10th, Davis P11. Roscoe Arm will start from the very back in 12th place after not setting a lap time. And there we are. As you said, Katie, a bit of an unexpected result with an Aston Martin 1-2. I definitely imagined an Aston Martin towards the front. The Bags, he's got a quick car underneath him, it seems.
Yes, so. I mean, he's proving that he's been capable so far. Not much separated between the two Astons. What was it, a tenth and a half? I mean, it's a bit of a difference, but still not that big of a difference.
That's right. And remember that Smithy couldn't improve on his final run either, so he might have had more lap time, but when I was looking at him for those brief periods that I was, it didn't really look like he made any mistakes. So if he did, it was when I wasn't watching. So he found time to the first sector, but he lost time in the next two.
Yeah, he was up by a tenth through the first, and then, yeah, like you mentioned, he lost time in the last two sectors.
Maybe made a setup change, try and find some more performance, but actually did the exact opposite. Maybe, I don't know.
I don't know, maybe it's like T-posted mechanics on the pit lane. We'll ask, maybe.
Yeah, we can walk up to the Aston Martin garage and ask them, like, what did your driver do at the end of qualifying there? He didn't put together an optimal lap, and I'll probably get a response out of those T-posing mechanics, surely. They're certainly engaged. They're standing in the middle of their pit stall, for crying out loud. They're that eager for racing to get underway.
Seriously.
Mm-hmm.
Also, a little side note too as well, but we may have known about the passing of, unfortunately, of Craig Breen, Irish rally driver from WRC. Ferrari Pro, I noticed, had an Irish flag on his helmet. It's just he said he was going to do a little tribute for him as well, so I thought that was very cool of him to do something like that.
Yeah.
On board his car. Got the Irish colors.
Didn't pick up on that, but that is a nice tribute. I mean, it's unrelated to Formula One, but it is related to motorsport, and I know there's probably a fair few people that do follow WRC. So, no, that's a very nice tribute. There was very traumatic events that has happened the past few days in regards to what happened with Craig Breen. It was quite a shocking thing, to put it lightly. None of us could really believe what we heard on the news. It sort of ultimately demonstrates that we can try and make this sport as safe as we possibly can. We'll never remove the danger of the sport. So it's just something that every real-life racing driver has to take into account. You know, bad things can happen. Bad things will happen. With that aside, we'll run through the grid order just quickly. Smithy will be starting from pole position, who is weirdly not starting on the medium compound tyre for this French Grand Prix. Bags Liddell, his teammate, starts alongside. He's on the hards as well, so is GeForce Pato and ACW, who form the second row. P5 is Spicy. He is the first driver on the mediums. He'll have F1 Ferrari Pro starting alongside on the hards. Plebs, P7, starting on the hards too, so is Pump in P8. G4 Zach in P9 and Marvelin in P10. All of them are starting on the hard tyre. Davis in P11 is the only other driver starting on the mediums. Roscoe Arm, starting from the very back, is on the hard compound tyre. So we have 10 drivers on the hards and 2 on the medium compound tyre for this French Grand Prix. Right. Smithy's lined up into his grid slot. His teammate lines up alongside. I imagine the two drivers are going to work together pretty well here off the start. Ferrari Pro and Pump missed their grid slots, so they've been pushed back accordingly. All 12 cars are lined up ready to run. We've got 27 laps here at Circuit Paul Ricard. 10 red lights. And we're underway here in La Castellet. It's a nice start from G-Force Pato in P3. It's a nice start from Ferrari Pro as well in P6. Spicy moves through into 4th as Smithy takes the lead into turn 1. 2 by 2 go the midfield as they head through turn 2. Marvelant, I believe, runs wide in the Haas, but it is Smithy who leads. Bags in 2nd, Pato 3rd, Spicy making up a place, he's in 4th. Then the 2 Ferraris of ACW and F1 Ferrari Pro. Less an ideal start for ACW, but it's only early doors. Try and move forward in the next few laps. Marvelant drops down. He's spun at the exit of turn 5, but KD, a relatively drama-free start.
Yeah, calm start as Ferrari Pro overtakes his teammate. Understandably, team orders there being in play. Spicy down the inside already on G-Force Pato at the chicane. Very nicely done there. Of course, trying to make full advantage of the medium compound tire as well.
Tell from the position change, not many drivers have shuffled around. Spicy and Roscoe. Ah, my word, Ferrari Pro! Down the inside at turn 10. How that wasn't an accident, I do not know. But that was an audacious manoeuvre, and they both lose control. My word, Ferrari Pro was able to catch it, Pato couldn't. And tumbles down to 12th. My word, though, what was that? An attempt at an overtake from Ferrari Pro.
Yeah, especially on the first lap.
He just said screw it and went down the inside. Who does that? That should have been a lot bigger. I don't understand how they both got through without making contact.
It's just a bit of a weird unorthodox accident, I guess you could say.
Well, after the fact,
Pato,
yeah.
Yeah, with Pato coming off worse. And speaking of someone with an accident.
Yes, Dave is spinning out at turn 2. He's now down in 12th position on the medium compound tyre as well. Less than ideal, for sure. Bags has got company. It's in the form of Spicy Salami, who is closing in. He's got minus 0.6 laps of fuel, but Spicy, he is insanely good at saving fuel. That's something I've learned from talking with Seb. He is really good at it. So that fuel, even though he's under, it really shouldn't be a problem. He'll be able to drive himself out of that situation. Bags, on the other hand, on the hard compound tyre, I feel like an overtake is only inevitable.
Yeah, especially if Spicy 2 wants to try to get the most out of that mediums, because he needs to get the field up towards the front as quickly as he can before the tire starts to fade, obviously.
And Bags, all he needs to do is, well, exactly what he's doing. He's letting Smithy drive away. Look at that, because backing him up, there's a 10th. There's another half a 10th through the final corner, maybe. Yeah, there we go. It's now 1.8 seconds, 1.9 seconds. You know, Bags just pushing Spicy back.
Yep. Basically being a Sergio... I almost had in my head Sergio Pleves. Don't ask me why. Don't ask me why.
Well, Davis is taking a very unorthodox route into the pit lane.
Yeah, gets a 5-second penalty. Well, never mind.
There you go. After 2 laps, voluntarily retired.
Oh, hello there. Oof. Yeah, Bags had a bit of a moment there. Well, he's going to get consumed by Spicy in a second.
Yep. There it is. Simple as you like. ACW closing in with a whole heap of steam. Doesn't close in by enough to overtake into turn 8. Now Bags would do himself a favour by keeping up with Spicy, trying to not lose too much time. Used a little bit of battery down the second half of the Mistral straight. Just make sure he stays within touching distance of the Merc. Heading up towards turn 11. Down to 6th gear. Down to 5th. Coming out to turn 11. Nice and steady. Bag's driving quite well. I wonder how he'll deal with the pressure of the two Ferraris right behind.
Well, he's also got the Alpine too left, so that's something else to keep in mind. It's actually a bit of a train in some sense. Kind of all the way back towards...
Oh, and a moment from Bags. Gee whiz, his back end step out right at the final... Right at the final corner. Back end of his car stepped out. He was able to get control of his car, but as a consequence of that mistake, he's now down in 5th. Fine margins. But no, you're actually very spot on with the train too. You can see it form from ACW and it goes all the way back to Roscoe Arm. He's within a second. So
yeah, I was gonna say that before that stuff happened.
Yeah. So no, this is a genuine pack of cars, and well, actually, Spicy's closed in on Smithy. Maybe on those medium compound tyres. I shouldn't sound so surprised, but you know, credit where credit is due. Smithy is an incredibly quick driver. We've seen him drive off in the past. He's not doing that right now. Maybe we'll see it later on. Down the inside goes Plebs.
Oh!
Another audacious overtake at turn 10. I never would have thought turn 10 would be an overtaking spot.
It can be, but it's a bit ambitious.
Well, it's just if you and your overtaking partner tangle, you're going to have a big accident.
Oh yeah, you'll have a high-speed crash.
Right, that's the risk versus reward. Yes, you make a very cool overtake, but if you get it wrong, you make yourself look very stupid. So that's the risk versus reward by doing those kinds of overtakes here at Paul Ricard. There's Spicy, ACW, Ferrari Pro, Plebs, Bags, and Pump is not just... He's not too far behind in P7. Just watching the show. Those hard tyres, and the story with G4 Zach and Roscoe, who is low on battery. You could tell from the flashing red lights at the back of the car. And then, just one little twitch has cost Bag so much, down 4 places from where he started. Just one little twitch. That's all it takes. Look at him. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All of them in the train.
Yeah. With ACW being the constructor. I can't even speak English apparently.
Well,
yeah.
Now he's back within a second of Spicy, so
actually more Spicy is the conductor.
Yeah.
There you go.
Oh, I love this camera angle. This still shot, this wide shot of turn 11. You can see all of turn 11 from the grandstands. You can see so much from that angle. I absolutely love it. I love it when the camera angle gives you a ton of information. When the camera zooms in by a lot, I mean, it doesn't tell me anything. And ultimately, information is what makes the stream better. It's not like we have to promote the sponsors on the cars. We have no affiliation with them whatsoever. So, you know, what's the point of a zoom in like this? Oh, look, it's got Petronas and Ineos. You plug in for those sponsors. Great. These shots, however, bird's eye view, looking down the racetrack, you can see the topography of the racetrack. You probably also need 3D glasses, if I'm extremely frank, because it's very disorientating looking at all these lines. It can make you kind of dizzy, as it's making me dizzy right now. Honestly, remove those lines, you would not be mistaken for thinking this was a tarmac lake.
Right, exactly.
Honestly. That's the most unique feature about the racetrack. It's not the track, it's not a corner, it's the fact that it's got so much runoff area that it's almost impossible to have an accident.
So you would think that mainly safety cars wouldn't be too much of a factor either.
Yeah,
although
usually.
we've seen it happen before. Yeah. Although I have seen it happen before.
Absolutely. They're not impossible. They're certainly not impossible. Man. Especially in wet weather conditions. In wet weather conditions, I've seen a plethora of safety cars because certain corners that seem innocuous turn into basically death spots. Especially turn 10. The amount of accidents I've seen at turn 10 in the wet is quite insane. It just turns into a complete nightmare corner. But,
Absolutely.
in the dry, turn 7 tends to be a hot spot. The corner that enters the Mistral Straight. I've seen a fair few drivers lose control and put it into the barrier through there. Yeah.
Oh, I'm guilty of making a mistake at turn 6 and 7. That's why I crashed last season, if I remember correctly.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, because I lost traction coming out of that corner, which is very easy to do with these sort of machines.
Absolutely. Very twitchy, very difficult to apply power, especially in lower gears. That's why you tend to see these top split drivers just utilising fourth everywhere, just to try and make sure they get the grip down. This strain is still formed. They haven't really broken up. Bags has lost time, but he can try and get back within a second of Plevs in P5.
Well, I see those. He's had 1 point of like being 1.1 or 1.2 seconds behind Smithy. Smithy, I noticed the last lap or two, but hasn't closed up to get DRS, has he?
Nope. So yeah, he's got some work to do, Bags. And Pump, well, he's sort of stuck in 7th right now. Doesn't look like he has the straight line speed to try and get by Bags and try and catch up to the top 5. So Pump is sort of at the mercy of Bags Liddell here. Liddell needs to do the hard work to try and catch back up to Plebs. Again, stay pretty stagnant right now. We've got GeForce Zach, Roscoe, we've got GeForce Pato, who does have a time penalty right now. He's got a pretty nice helmet, Pato. I like it. Red, white, bit of green. Looks nice. There's Marvel. Oh, that's a nice looking helmet too.
Oh! As Pato nearly lost it there while I was on board with him. He nearly did what I did. He nearly did what I did last season.
Oh, right. He was going to do a live demonstration. I recommend you don't do that.
Yeah, you don't want to lose traction there.
Oh, Plebs understeering wide there at turn 10. Gee whiz. Yeah. Oh, what on earth was that?
Yeah, I saw that too. What? That was a big lag spike if I've ever seen one.
My goodness.
I guess talk about penetrating the gearbox.
Now, kids, that's how baby F1 cars are made. It's going to be called a Furpine. Or an Alrari. One of the two.
One of those two. Or whatever. But, yeah, I've never seen that sort of spike before, but there you go.
That was a jump scare, man. An F1 jump scare. I haven't had that since, oh goodness, I did a race at Kota where I got jump scared. Scared the bejeebers out of me when I was riding on board with someone. They lost control through turn 7 and ended up on the right-hand side of the circuit. So I rode on board with them just to see, oh, you know, how did they rejoin? They do a good job. And I flick left, and I kid you not, there's just this Williams that's flying at them at 120 miles an hour and just slams into the side of him. As, yeah, Spags has gone, yeah, he's, spun into the infield, I guess.
Maybe lost control? Yeah.
Yeah, that's a strange one. Maybe he could have went straight on at turn 8, like broke too late. So he had to cut a little bit. He was slowed down to make sure he doesn't get a time penalty. So, I don't know, but yeah, Bag's now down to 9th. Yeah, no, that was a genuine jump scare. My word. I didn't know what was going to happen after that. Fortunately, nothing bad happened. But I wonder
Yeah.
if that gave plebs damage. I mean, we saw it. Did the drivers see it? Did the game register damage or what? I
I
don't
don't
know.
know.
Pato pit lane
Well,
speeding penalty.
I mean, he's fine, of course, on the front wing, from what it looks like to me. I've got no idea. I don't know how to explain that.
No clue. No clue.
Yeah.
It seems that
F1.
Plevs is losing a little bit of time to both Ferraris and Spicy in P2, so maybe he did get damage from that. He is out of battery too.
Maybe. Well, meanwhile, the Ferraris have closed up on Mercedes and Spicy, which, I mean, I guess it's not a total surprise since I'm guessing the memes are starting to fade a bit. For him, at least.
Yeah. So not much of a surprise that Spicy's had a pace drop. Yeah, Plebs has just lost 3/10 through just these few corners alone. So he must have got damage from that. Surely he got damage from that. Claw back
Probably
a bit of time.
Probably like line grip. Well, there goes Spicy. And
Oh,
he got that. Oh, he got that as he was entry pit.
Yeah, that's a glitch. That'll get removed. Post race, that's alright. That'll get removed.
Fair enough.
He's two-stopping.
Yeah, another set of mediums. Okay.
Is that quicker?
I don't know. I guess we'll wait and find out.
I know the two-stopper used to work alright at Paul Ricard, but that's when the soft tyre was, you know, useful.
Yeah.
So
I remember. Well, let me think. I know 2019 and 2020. I think 2020 I think was a two-stopper, but 2019 I know was one-stopper. But yeah, I think. I mean, the one-stop can work because you know you got a bit of a distance, and you know if you go from medium to hard, obviously you can carry those tires to the end. I don't know.
well, let's think of it this way. Spicy's now on the same pit strategy as everyone else right now. Everyone else in front has got to do one more stop. Spicy's got to do one more stop. So he has to recover all the lost ground that he had at the beginning of this race. How far behind is he compared to Ferrari Pro? The gap is 23 seconds between him and Ferrari Pro. 25 between him and Smithy. He has to gain that back.
Yeah. Yeah, he has to like do a bit of quali laps, really.
Speaking
got
of
clear
which,
at Ferrari Pro fastest lap. There you go.
yep. So Ferrari Pros put the hammer down. Setting the fastest lap. 2.4 seconds behind Smithy, our race leader. Now, I don't think these two will battle each other at all. Unless they try and slipstream trade each other, which is what they're doing. So, they're going to work together in tandem to try and close in on the race leader. This is what good teammates try and do. Utilize the power that they have with DRS and with Slipstream to try and catch up to the leading race car. It's going to take a lot of effort, but it's not impossible to try and achieve. This is the advantage of a 2v1 situation. Not to mention that with two cars versus one, you also have an advantage in terms of strategy. Because you can send one in early, try and maybe undercut Smithy. You can send one at the same time, or try and send one after Smithy. Maybe try an overcut. Pumps in.
Yep. Third place. Well, that's a bit early, I think, isn't it?
He might be
Just wanna check.
two-stopping.
Probably. He's on the hards. He started on the hards.
His garage, no front wing change. New
Medium
set of
tires on the
mediums. So he's two-stopping. Is the two-stop the way to go?
That's a good question. I mean, in real life it can work, I guess. I mean, oh dear, Clever's left the sector.
Well, hopefully he can find a way to rejoin. He's P4 and Roscoe 7.9 seconds behind. That Alfa Romeo's going to close in pretty quick. And even though these two are working together, they're still not as quick as Smithy. Smithy out in front in the clear air. He's still driving away. A few tenths every lap.
Yeah, and he's got more deployment to play with too.
35% compared to 19 and 21.
Yeah, with the two Ferraris.
So Smithy's got all the cards right now. He's got track position. He's got more battery to spend. He doesn't have a fuel issue. Neither does Ferrari Pro or ACW. It'll be a tough task to try and beat Smithy right here, right now. It seems that all three of these cars are going to be committed to a one-stop strategy as we now go into the halfway mark of this French Grand Prix. Bags is in. He'll be getting off these hard tyres, bolt on a set of mediums. It's a long crawl up to your stall. In we go. We'll run over some of the mechanics as well. Good stuff. As Plevs has rejoined the session. Good. Pato moves in front of Bags. Bags is now last. He's P11, but he's got a clear track and fresh tyres. Zach passes Roscoe. Interesting. These two in a scrap. Seems that Roscoe's going to have him back as he's now left this. He just made an overtake, and he's just DC'd after he made the pass. Ouch. Well, the AI now has to try and defend this. I wonder how long this will last.
Not very long, probably.
I agree.
Not very long.
I'll mention it for the sake of mentioning it. There is a lot of cloud cover over Le Castellet right now.
Yeah, it has gone a little overcast.
Don't know if we'll have any rain. If we do, it's probably going to be late. As what do you know, Zach passes Roscoe. That's for P5.
Well, that didn't take long, like I mentioned then.
Nope, it certainly did not take long at all.
Took what, maybe 3 seconds after I said that sentence.
Such is the pace of the AI. Such rapid pace.
But it's quick in a straight line. That's one thing. And
ridiculously good out of corners.
Yeah, because they're traction gods.
That's right. 3.3 seconds is now the gap between Smithy and Ferrari Pro. This is Smithy's race right now. Been a fairly similar tale in previous events in the Elite Series. The Martin drivers seem to be untouchable over the course of this championship season. It's taken mega efforts to try and beat him. But it's not over yet. The gap between the top two sitting at 3.3 seconds. If anything happens, well, maybe we'll see a change in the race lead. But as of right now, Smithy is under control. And doesn't look to be in any sort of position to relinquish that control. He's staying out for another lap. Ferrari Pro is doing the same. ACW too. And we're getting less blue sky. I wonder if we are going to get any intermediate conditions.
Maybe. I didn't get a weather report, did you?
Nope.
But there you go. Yeah, no, I haven't gone in.
Usually if you don't get one, it's going to be dry, so...
Yeah. Maybe it won't rain. If it does, like you mentioned, it will probably come towards the end, but...
Yeah.
I don't see it coming, really. if I'm totally honest.
Oh, through the opening part of the lap. Trust me folks, you're going to need your 3D glasses for this camera angle. Just to sort things out. We head around turn 7 onto the Mistral straight. You can see off into the distance the 11 million different layouts that you can have here at Circuit Paul Ricard. Through goes ACW into second. Ferrari Pro lets him through. The gap between the top two is forever increasing. It's now 4.1 seconds between Smithy and the two Ferraris. Plevs in P4. Oh, his name changed as well. No more Sergio Plevez. It's now just Plevs again. P4 Zach. P5 Roscar P6. Spicy in 7th. Pump has just overtaken Marvelant. That is for P8. Marvelant still on those hard compound tyres. He'll be pitting soon for a set of mediums. Smithy still leading the way. Mistake-free drive so far. It's lap 17 of 27. 11 laps to go here at Paul Ricard. Ferrari Pro has dropped a little bit of time to his teammate. The gap increasing to almost a second as they head through the very tricky, very notorious turns 1 and 2. Heading down towards the technical complex of turns 3, 4, 5, 6 and 7. It's a very slow, methodical process through this section. A lot of throttle modulation, KD. You very rarely go to full throttle through this section.
Yeah, it's easy if you have traction control, but not when you have no TC on.
And none of these guys have TC on, being the Elite Series.
Nope, they got zilch. Nothing, no ABS, no TC. Manual gears are not even racing line they don't use.
That's right. They got to race the old-fashioned way. These guys make it look easy. It is not as easy as they make it look. Pato has moved on to the soft compound tyre down in P11 with 11 laps to go. That's quite a lengthy stint on those tyres. Don't know if he'd make it. Pretty close.
Definitely. I don't think you can do 11 laps on the soft tyres around this place. I mean, maybe it was possible from last year's game.
Sector 2 yellows. Hello, Bags Liddell.
Bags Liddell. At the chicane.
Must admit, Katie, what looked like to be such a promising qualifying session has completely turned upside down for Mr. Liddell.
Although, there's something to note as well. Back to the weather. It's gone darker.
So dark, we might have some nighttime running.
Yeah.
Gee whiz. It is.
Even the lights are on.
Yep. Yeah, they are too. That's a good spot, Katie. I didn't spot that. They are on.
I don't know. I've never seen that before.
I don't think I've seen that before. Yeah, look at them. The floodlights around the circuit have turned on. It's gotten that dark. The floodlights are on.
Okay.
See, Codemasters put in the effort to have that. To have light-sensitive floodlights around the circuit. Like the circuit's gone that dark, the floodlights have turned on. Right? They put in that kind of interest. I love that kind of intricacy. That's Codemasters of old. Right there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, the detail. Absolutely.
But what gets paraded around is a bunch of couches, lamps, and fricking paintings in a racing rain.
Oh,
yeah, it is.
I see that. Yeah, there it is. There's the streaks.
ACW is straight away in the pits. So this is a bit of a gamble from ACW. He's relying on the track to evolve very quickly. He's moved on to the Inter, and away he leaves.
Interesting. Well, that explains why these guys are going for very lengthy stints.
Yep.
I was also going to mention too, before the rain came, is that the tires looked like they were not in a healthy spot. For anyone that's been on the hards for so long.
Well, I needn't worry too much longer. It'll be intermediate conditions in no time at all. Now, the question is, has ACW made the right call? Guess there's only one way to find out.
Well, just gotta pay attention to the gaps.
He is closing in on Roscoe. He is closing in on Roscoe. Gee whiz, he found near enough a second, I think, through that technical bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Through the chicane, 5.7, 5.6. There's the call.
Disable. Yeah. Okay, maybe he did time it somewhat correctly.
Smithy's making his way through the final part of the lap. He's in.
What's right for you? You surely have to come in.
Yep.
Yep.
They're all in. They're all going to come in. In. Yellows, that's B for Zach. No grip on those tyres. There's a guy that has grip. There's a guy that doesn't have grip. He'll be moving into pit lane. Oh, sheesh. Close to the white lines there. Now Smithy, he's making his way out of the pits. ACW down the main straightaway. He will not pass Smithy. He'll move into second. The gap sits at 4.543 seconds. 4.3. Man, it's done.
Yeah, isn't it? That is interesting to see there.
It is
Circuit Paul Ricard.
properly dark. Like, this is dark enough where you kind of want lights on your car. Gee whiz.
I don't know if it's my eyes or something, but you know how like you go to the outboard shots, right?
Mm.
Or like the zoom out shots. Like you look at the the water coming down on the lines, like in between lines. They look like glaciers to me for some silly reason. I don't know why. Don't question me why I think that. It just looks like it to me.
Hey man.
Like it just look at it. I don't know. It's just look like glaciers. In a sense, like you get the water and then the blue lines. It's like, okay, yeah, you get looks like a bit of a glacier or something.
Yep. I don't know. Funky right now. All this weird stuff happening. The lights are on, ladies and gentlemen, here at Paul Ricard. That is the kind of intricacy I want to see in Formula One games. I don't think I've ever seen that before, ever, where the weather has progressed enough to the point where the track's dark enough to turn the floodlights on. I've never seen that here at Paul Ricard. That's so cool.
No. Yeah, no, that's a first for me. That's a first for both of us.
Yeah, no, never seen that before. Alright. So, the conditions are fully changed. Everyone's on inters now. What's the game from here to the end? I'm guessing it's going to be survival. I mean, you can look at the intervals right now. Everyone is pretty well spread out. So, this is a survival game now. Keep mistakes to an absolute minimum. I don't think anyone will be battling anyone right now.
Maybe apart from the two Ferraris if Ferrari Pro closes up on his teammate, but yeah.
We'll see if the Ferraris also issue some form of team order, because we know Ferrari Pro is the closest rival to Smithy. So will ACW just move aside and let Ferrari Pro through into second for the sake of the Drivers' Championship? Or will he maintain second? Because he's technically in the fight himself. He's a bit further away, but he's definitely in the fray. So, what do you do? I mean, it's up to these two, quite literally. There's no other person. There's no team principal. There's no race engineer other than Mark.
ACW running awfully wide. It looked like to me at the penultimate corner.
He might not be having fun in these conditions.
Probably not the setup's working for him, I imagine.
Well, he did mention after qualifying that he was suffering a lot of understeer, so Maybe he's found that understeer again in these wet weather conditions.
Probably.
The Ferrari Pro is closing in on his teammate. I reckon these two are going to change places here.
Yeah, I think that would be the better option if I'm totally honest. Well, let's see, I suppose.
4.5 tenths is the gap. Oh my word, Ferrari Pro! He invented a new corner.
Well, there goes ACW to let his teammate through.
In fairness, the track is dark, so
it is gotten darker.
So he might not have actually seen where the apex was, or mistook where the apex was.
Another detail I'm noticing. Look how much reflection it gets off of the surface.
Oh yeah, it is seriously
like you see
reflective.
like you see, yeah, like the trees and some of the buildings that's maybe around it. Yeah. It's actually pretty damn good. I like that. I really do.
Shows off the tarmac aspect of the circuit. There's so much reflective surface.
Yeah, even the lights are reflective. That's actually pretty damn cool. No, that is.
It shows the effort that Cody's actually put into this thing. Well, at least from some of the personnel. I can't say the same thing for the people in charge of this ruddy game, making the decisions that they do. So, you know, they focus in areas such as F1 Life and think that's the future of this game. It's not. It's just not. It's no. I haven't heard a single positive thing about F1 Life from anybody. And that's going to be the main focus to F1 23.
Yep. Oh,
it's like, have you not even paid attention to the people actually buying the game? Like, if you're not going to focus on the things that the players want, eventually, well, over the course of this game we've seen it, players are just going to step away and do something else. A lot of us are up to that point where we're just going to step away. So...
Yep. I mean, I've been expressive about that. I'm not going to lie. And I know a few others have included. So.
Yeah. So, you know, eventually, hopefully, whoever's in charge of Codemasters either does one of two things. One, removes their head out of their rectum, or steps away.
Yeah.
Hopefully they do one of those two things. If not, I hope EA actually get a hold of this and actually start taking charge.
Yeah. Also, I think it's getting a bit heavier, just a little bit.
You reckon?
Doesn't it?
Maybe.
It looks like it's gotten a bit more tenser. The raindrops.
Well, if the rain does intensify and we reach full wet conditions, then these guys are not going to have a fun time. As we've said in multiple streams in the past, tyre temperature is everything. And yes, intermediate tyres are grooved, they can disperse water, but they work within an operating window in terms of tyre temperature. They need to be at a certain temperature range, otherwise they won't grip at all. When you have too much water on the racetrack, it sort of super cools the tyre. Like, they tend to operate at about 65 degrees Celsius. When it reaches full wet conditions, it drops down to below 60. And when it does that, the tyre has zero grip. So, in these final few laps, if they go to full wet conditions and they're still on inters, they need to be very alert to their tyre temps, and they need to be very alert to their car's behaviour.
Absolutely.
Otherwise, they're going to find out those barriers aren't too far away after all. It is dark.
Shit. That's at least a few times we've said how dark it is.
It is dark out there. Smoothie doesn't mind though.
Yeah,
rain or shine, day or night, or almost night.
On a Sunday drive.
Well. Yeah.
He's literally having a Sunday drive is what he's having.
Yep. A little country drive here in Le Castellet. Viewing the scenery, or the lack of it. The scenery's kind of far away.
Yeah.
There's a few mountains and some buildings.
And you got an airport next to the bloody racetrack too.
Yeah, that's nice, isn't it? Having all the facilities there. Ooh. Look, Smithy, I might not be a very good driver, but one thing I do know, in these conditions, grey thing equals better than red and white thing. Because red and white thing equals no grip in these conditions. So stay on black grey thing. I know there's a lot of black grey thing around this racetrack, but yeah, I think you know what I mean. G4 Zach, a 3-second time penalty for corner cutting. What did you do? Where did you do it? Hold on.
Did he do it at turn 3?
I'm guessing turn 3, turn 4, maybe.
That's my only guess.
How have you done that? That's corner cutting. That's a straight up pen. That's not like he gathered warnings. That's a straight pen.
Yeah. Oh, I don't know.
Back on to the main straightaway for Smithy. The track now has a proper sheen to it. We've got 2 laps to go. The final 11.8 kilometers. It's about 5.9 k's. So yeah, 11.8 kilometers of this race. They're going to be a long 11.8 kilometers in these conditions. Smithy should be able to get through them pretty well. Ferrari Pro has opened up a 2.8 second margin over his teammate.
Smithy.
Almost
don't twitch the cut. Yeah, almost lost the back end there. At turn 6.
The only thing that will stop Smithy from winning
is himself.
So he needs to know that. He should know that. So he should drive accordingly. I mean, last time I checked, you're not going to get faster slack in these conditions. So, just saying, there's no gain to pushing in these conditions. You can't gain that extra point. Speaking of which, who's got it? It's Bags Liddell, 32.9.
Yeah, that was when he was on the medium tire.
Yes. Everyone's spread out. Look at the dots. They're everywhere. Around the racetrack. No one's battling anyone right now. It's all going to come down to penalties. And the penalties aren't big enough to change anybody's positions. Look at that. Plevs and Spicy are on the same penalty. Roscoe Arm is 3.6 seconds behind Spicy, so he can't gain position unless he finds 6/10. G4 Zach has 6 seconds worth of penalties, but his teammate's 11.2 behind. Bags is far enough ahead of Pato, who has more penalties than him, so those two will stay the same too. So long as nobody makes a mistake, this will be our finishing order for the French Grand Prix. It's pretty tricky out on track though. Maybe gets through turn 7 pretty well.
Yeah, it's gone a bit heavier.
It has. Definitely has. You can see way more of a reflective sheen over the racetrack, so the rain has picked up. The conditions have certainly become worse than what they were at the beginning of this rain session. So, but Smithy out there still using battery. He's not slowing down. He's still pushing. Even in these conditions, he is still pushing. He is focused. He is determined. Give it 100%. Try and win this Grand Prix. Sector 3 yellows. That is GeForce Pato slowing down. That was through turn 14. He heads through turn 15. Only one corner left for Smithy now. Around the final corner, back onto the main straightaway. Seems that Pato is going to put himself a lap down, or maybe... No, he doesn't. He thought about it. He won't. Smithy will win the French Grand Prix. F1 Ferrari Pro will come home in second place. It'll be ACW who finishes in third. Pato's crashed. Seems. Well, he'll be classified 11th anyway. Plevs P4 as his car crashes at the line. Spicy P5. Roscoe Arm will finish in P6. Crossing the line.
And wins the thing.
Yep. Pump 46 will be the next car. He'll finish in P7 as he revs out towards the line. G4 Zach P8. Followed by Marvelant. P9. Bags Liddell will be our final finisher. A less than ideal race for Bags Liddell, to put it politely. Qualified second. He'll finish 10th. And there's Plevs' Alpine, dead at pit entry. Exit. Roscoe Arm is given driver of the day. We'll see his performance in the final results screen. He did start from last, so it's not surprising he made the most spots out of anybody. It's time for the podium celebrations when they load. There we are. Another fine drive from Smithy. He's our winner of this French Grand Prix. P2 goes to F1 Ferrari Pro. P3 to his teammate ACW. Another big result for Ferrari. So, the unofficial results then of the French Grand Prix. Smithy takes his 7th win of the season, finishing in front of his closest rival F1 Ferrari Pro by just over 9 seconds, I believe was the gap. Yep, 9.6 seconds. ACW will complete the podium places in 3rd, a solid drive from both Ferraris. Plebs in P4, followed by Spicy in 5th. Roscoe made up 6 positions to finish 6th. Then Pump 7th, Zach 8th, Marvel at 9th, Bags Liddell 10th with fastest lap, Pato classified P11, Davis not classified down in P12. Well, we'll invite the 2 Ferrari drivers in. We can have a little chat about what happened over the course of the Grand Prix, though I don't really think either of them will have much to say. It was a fairly timid race for the most part, except for maybe the beginning and also the woes during qualifying. But we'll get them in, see what they have to say.
Shall wait and see. Oh, goodness me.
Right, adjusted audio accordingly. Hello, you two.
G'day.
G'day.
Hello, you two.
Another double podium for the Ferrari duo. Big points for the constructors for both of you, so well done. Start from 3rd, we'll make our way up as per normal. So ACW, P3 at the end of this Grand Prix. What are your thoughts? 3rd place finish.
Disappointed, but also just satisfied, to be honest.
Yeah.
Just not too much. I think once the rain came, I just could not see where I was going, and I just had no pace. compared to my teammate, so I just let him by.
She got pretty dark at the end there.
Yeah. And that rain, he just camouflaged like all the curbs. I couldn't see where I was going.
Yeah, I can imagine how hard that was.
Horrible.
Fair enough then. So an interesting end to the race, I suppose. That will go for both of you. But qualifying, you messaged us in the chat that you were suffering understeer throughout that session, so I'm guessing it was a less than ideal quali.
Yeah, it was horrible.
Woes fixed themselves in the race though?
It got better.
Yeah.
But yeah, just annoyed.
You reckon you know what area of the car might have caused it?
No clue, to be honest, because when I was in practice, like GP mode, I did like 29 sixes, so I don't know where the pace went, to be honest.
Could be track conditions related or something like that, not sure.
Most likely.
But how was that opening stint of the race for you?
The opening stint, it was alright. Me and Ferrari Pro were working together. We were trying to manage our ERS, and Spicy was pulling us along, catching up to Smithy, so it felt pretty good.
But you two were also working together, sharing DRS down the Mistral Straight. Was that in an attempt to try and catch up to Smithy?
Yes, and also just like to help prioritize our longer stints.
Yeah.
With the ERS and such.
Fair enough.
Trying to manage.
No, it worked out well when the rain came initially. You pitted at the right time to move on to the intermediate time. But the track got dark, track got wet, and yeah, you mentioned you couldn't see where you were going. That must have been a new experience on F122.
Yeah, it was definitely a new experience.
Well, at least you navigated your way to the finish line and you ended up getting P3, so it's something. KD, do you have anything to ask ACW?
No, nothing further. Other than congratulations on your, excuse me, your P3. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, good job to you too on the double podium as well.
But, one final question for you, ACW. Next week, heading over to the Red Bull Ring, Austrian Grand Prix, and it's a sprint round as well. What are your thoughts heading into next week's race?
Sprint race, no good.
Red Bull Ring?
No, just never seemed to be good.
Yeah, fair enough. Well, best of luck then for next week. But for now, congratulations on finishing, finding your way home. And you got a P3 out of it. So well done.
Yes. Thank you.
Ferrari Pro.
Yo.
P2 at the end of that one. It didn't start off well with qualifying. P6, only one run completed throughout qualifying. Less than ideal, I'm guessing.
Oh, it was not ideal at all. I didn't really think I had. I thought I had pace in qualifying, even when I was doing a bit of practice and that. But I just didn't feel really confident around here this season. But yeah, it wasn't good qualifying. I invalidated, and I think both of them I invalidated. So, I lost time on my second run. So yeah.
Race start though was pretty solid.
Yeah, race start was actually good. I warmed the tyres up pretty nice, and for hards and on the dirty side, felt pretty good the launch I got. So
yeah,
just made my way up. I think I got past ACW, and then we just started working from there.
Fair enough. I must say though, on the opening lap, you made one audacious overtake at turn 10 on G-Force Paddo.
Oh yeah, I knew I had to go for it. I didn't want to lose time, if they were struggling to warm up their tyres and that. So I was like, yeah, let's go for it. And as I was going for it, I could sense understeer, and I was getting closer and closer to him. I was like, oh no, please don't end in a collision, but it didn't. So yeah, I'm happy about that.
Thank goodness it didn't. Though it almost ended in catastrophe at the exit of turn 11. You both had massive twitches. You managed to save it. Couldn't say the same for Pato.
I felt so sorry for Pato because I thought I knocked into him from me saving my car, and I thought we made contact, but it seemed not to be because ACW said that we didn't. So
yeah, no, you two sort of twitched in sympathy at the exit of turn 11, and ultimately Pato was the one who got the short end of the stick. He spun, you didn't. So, but,
yeah, that was scary.
After that, we talked about it with ACW. You two decided to work together throughout that race. Save ERS and maybe try and catch up to Smithy.
Yeah.
Fair enough.
That's probably the best we could have done in that situation because I believe he was running higher wings and he just had some pretty good pace around the track. So I think just working together like that, which didn't really work out the way we wanted to, but I think that's the best we could have done tonight in that situation.
You went a bit longer on your slicks before pitting onto the intermediate tyre. How greasy did the track get?
It wasn't too bad when I was coming in because I was, if I went one more lap I was going to get a puncture 100%. Probably even if I made the final corner I would have got a puncture. So
yikes.
But when I came into the pits, that's when it only started raining and it wasn't too bad. It was obviously really crap on tyres, but oh man, it just felt like a dream. It really felt good.
Yeah, you had better pace compared to ACW in that final stint. You looked quite comfortable. I must admit though, there was a moment where I think it was the moment when you finally passed your teammate. You invented a completely new corner at turn 7. And that's how you got your time penalty.
I could not see it at all. I literally could not see that corner whatsoever. And I think ACW was complaining I couldn't see the curves either. And I just couldn't judge where it was. I literally couldn't judge. So I just had to go straight through because I didn't know where to go.
Yep.
I couldn't see it, but we live and learn.
That was a bit interesting, but at least it didn't end up worse, I guess.
Yeah, that's right. It could have ended up well, especially in those conditions. You never really know. But, a bit like ACW, you found your way home, and it's a P2 finish as well. Damage limitation for the sake of the Drivers' Championship. You're still in the hunt. You'll take a bit of a blow, but you're still very much in it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll take P2. Obviously, I don't really like getting P2 when the championship rivals are either winning or they're close and that. But I'll take it tonight. I didn't think I had enough pace around here, so I'm pretty happy with it.
KD, anything to ask?
Nah, nothing further. But congratulations on your P2, and good luck to you for the rest of the championship, of course.
Yeah, thank you.
Final question for you, Ferrari Pro. Next week, I reckon you'll be looking forward to it. It's a sprint round. Red Bull Ring.
Let's go.
What's your thoughts on Red Bull Ring then?
I don't mind the track. I like it a lot. It's going to be a sprint, which I like also. So more points on the on the table. So I'm looking forward to it. It'll be an extra race. I've also practiced to sprint for the feature. So it should be good. I'm looking forward to it.
Best of luck then for next week, Ferrari Pro. But for now, congratulations on your P2 finish here in front.
Thank you, KD and Lane, and congrats ACW and Smithy on P2 on P1 and 3, and also rest in peace to Craig Breen.
Yeah, no, it was a nice little tribute that you paid with your helmet. KD pointed that out. I didn't spot it during qualifying, but yeah, no, it's quite nice. But we'll do a quick shout out to Smithy. 7 wins. I mean, the results table sort of speaks for itself. Drove superbly tonight. The guys kept you a bit of company towards the beginning of the race, but as the race wore on, the gap just steadily increased lap on lap, and eventually got to a point where the only person who could really challenge you was yourself. You just needed to make sure you could get to the end without making a mistake, which you did. So another fine effort. Your 7th win in this season. So congrats on winning the French Grand Prix. But I think, KD, that is it. Not exactly the most enthralling race in the world, but we got through it. You can look forward to next week. Well, you can look forward to driving around this place on Tuesday.
Yeah, after a bit of a break, yeah. We'll see how it goes, I suppose. Just gonna try to do my best for the rest of the championship.
Well, I think with the race finally over, it's time for us to end the stream. I've been Lane Everingham. My co-commentator, as always, is KD1997. Thank you everyone so much for watching, and we'll see you next week for round 12 of the championship at the Red Bull Ring for the Austrian Grand Prix. Until then, it's goodbye.